Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Sustainable Saturday. I am here to bring you the news, commentary, and interaction, virtual chat interaction on various issues. Today, traditionally, was our anti-war rally, and I've been fighting the wars ever since I was a kid. The Vietnam War was something that was on our screen every day. We watched people, young American soldiers, being killed. And now we see this antiseptic world of war, and we think, oh, that's happening over there. That's what happens in Iraq. That's what's going on in Afghanistan. It doesn't affect us. That's why we haven't stopped the Iraq or Afghanistan war, because it's not in our face. And they're very careful to limit the amount of people seeing the tragedies that are over there. Yet they want to push all these like terrorist attacks that are happening in the U.S., they're saying, in front of us, and they don't even want to show proof. I don't even see bloody bodies or even blood dripping from anywhere. We see no forensic evidence that these shootings are even occurring, but they're saying they're occurring. And we've got everybody saying, oh yeah, the El Paso shooting did occur. Oh yeah. No one actually saw it and has gone on screen saying they saw the shooting. People have said, I heard the shots, but no one has actually said they saw it. So it's very strange the way the government's promoting this event, these crisis events, going live with crisis events that they pay your tax dollars to put out, with cops acting like they're doing something. And the more we blow holes in it, the more they cut our YouTube videos down. So I can't even play you the evidence that we have showing fake blood. I grabbed a piece on Facebook the other day that would blow your mind. It shows a cop squirting fake blood on another cop's arm. It's the weirdest thing ever. But that was immediately pulled off Facebook. So I can talk about it, but I can't show it to you. They don't want anyone to see the truth, and that is that they're pushing an agenda of gun control to try to disarm our population. Now, we know for a fact that Russia has influenced our election big time, put Donald Trump, the biggest buffoon on earth, in power, and now we don't even know what he's doing. He wants to buy Greenland. What's he want to call it, Trump land? I mean, what's going on with this world that allows such a buffoon to become president? Well, they don't want anyone to think. They don't want a thinking president like I would be. They want somebody that can control and keep under their thumb. And that's precisely why they put this man in power. I'm wearing my eagle tie, which is a proud bird, also a vulture in the vulture family, in case you didn't know. So our country is becoming like a vulture around the world, doing the bidding of the New World Order. And that has led us to a very, very mixed up foreign policy where we're still involved in Iraq and Afghanistan, put there not because they attacked us, because they didn't, but because George W. wanted to go after these countries for whatever reason because of 9/11. And incidentally, we still haven't caught anybody that did 9/11. Not one person has been arrested. Let's not forget that nearly 20 years ago, our country was attacked. We still don't have anybody arrested for that crime. Very strange the way our government just doesn't want to pursue this case, because they're probably complicit in an inside job to create the justification for a war in Iraq and Afghanistan. That's why they don't want to pursue anybody who did that. 2,996 people died that day. And it's not something that was a fake event. It was a real event that actually occurred. But did it happen the way they say it did? No way. No way. You take a look at the nose cone of that plane that went into that building. And by the way, that nose cone of that plane is made out of fiberglass. And you see the exit of that nose cone going right through the building exactly as it was when it entered the building. There's no way a nose cone of any plane would make it through an entire building without crushing it. So they're putting a lot of CGI into this to make us think that somehow we saw planes hit the building, and therefore terrorists did this with the plane because they learned how to fly in a couple days. No. There were charges set throughout those buildings, and a massive demolition occurred. And all the top engineers and architects of 9/11 have actually signed on to the statement that it was a demolition. So our government is completely overlooking the reality that that was a planned demolition that was set in advance of 9/11. And our country will not look into anything. In fact, it won't even look into Jeffrey Epstein's death, which clearly has been faked. Jeffrey Epstein doesn't even look like the body that was pulled out of the penitentiary in the Metropolitan Penitentiary in Manhattan. It doesn't even look like him. The guy that we see has a hook nose, and Jeffrey Epstein has a straight nose. There's very strange things that are going on where our government sits there and says, "Oh yeah, the guy suicided." Sure, yeah. Even the same coroner that made statements about his neck was crushed. You can't do that pulling on a bed sheet that somehow was put in place, even though they were supposed to have non-fabric bed sheets in that particular place. They should have had him on a suicide watch. They didn't. That's not neglect. What's neglect is what's going on is the coroner is lying about Jeffrey Epstein's death. Jeffrey Epstein is still in play. He's out there playing with little girls right now, I'm sure. I would not doubt he's sexually molesting children right now, because that's what this guy does. He's a known agent for Mossad, who's been working and nesting in our country, working with the likes of the Clintons and the Trumps for years. And nobody seems to understand that this guy has got protection up the yin-yang, and probably had some sort of a switch that if he didn't check in every day, it probably would have released all this data to a public press. We would have heard about it, but we didn't. That's why they didn't kill him. He had enough insurance against everybody, including some sort of a release of media data that would have gone out if he was killed. So they're more than likely are keeping this guy in play, and he's probably working now to change his face. But they've got all kinds of ways of lying to the American people, and they've been doing it for some time. Our country cannot possibly get on solid ground with these kind of scumbags swirling around like snakes in government offices, acting like they're helping us, which they clearly are not. So we have to start realizing what's going on. And if we don't wake up to the reality that we're being lied to by the two-party system, I'm afraid none of you are going to get out of this trap that they're setting for the human race. They are systematically poisoning the atmosphere that we are currently living in. We see massive amounts of chemtrails being dumped on our planet daily, and they act like, oh no, this isn't happening, but boy, wouldn't it be a good idea if we maybe covered the entire Earth with some sort of a shield so the sun doesn't hurt it? I'm hearing Democrats who have called anybody who questions what's happening whack jobs now are saying, what a good idea to spray this stuff in the air. So they're trying to twist our mind and somehow make it think that this is going to stop global warming. I'm sorry, but we'll never stop global warming by dumping chemicals in the atmosphere which create an inversion layer like a microwave. We will never ever stop global warming by dumping more chemicals into the atmosphere. So whatever they're doing is absurd and needs to be stopped immediately. And we're not going to be able to do that unless you help me build this third party as we do this every night. You have a theory that UFO sightings are images put into the witnesses by electronic mirages. Very possible. I'm willing to look at that theory, Dr. Meow. We've yet to see a picture of an actual alien in, 50, 60 years of talking about these aliens? Nothing. Not one single photograph. And yet we have 5.4 billion cell phones out there with cameras on it. I mean, come on. The alien agenda is most likely a government plan to blame everything on aliens. Yeah, they're still working on it too, and I wouldn't doubt they'll have the technology to create an alien invasion pretty soon with holographs. I can't stop chemtrails outside the U.S., but the U.S. has such a big footprint on the Earth's surface that stopping them here will be a big step in the right direction. And awakening other countries in Europe to stop this is another big step in the right direction. The only way we're going to clean up the atmosphere and stop climate change is to do it, to actually get in and do it, invent things that will filter the air, and it doesn't have to be in our face, and it doesn't have to cost you a lot of tax dollars. I can divert funds that are currently allocated to stupid projects like the F-35. I can put into a wind turbine in the Tehachapi mountain range and begin filtering air, carbon right out of the air as we speak, helping the entire world immensely, by the way. Yeah, could be. Real-time machines, interesting. So the police fake blood is still on YouTube? Okay, I'll take a look at that. Okay, I can't play it, but I'm glad they left it on YouTube. Good. Somebody has put a post and they haven't stopped it. I'm not going to play that because they'll kick it off YouTube. Excellent. I'm glad you gave me a link to that. Thank you. I can't show it to you because they will knock my entire video off if I do. Well, to say that long-term solar cycles are part of climate change and to say you can't stop it, let's look at it the other way. Let's see how much putting heavy metals in our atmosphere will change the magnetosphere that we currently call our air, our ionosphere. How is putting heavy metals in the air going to change the way our ionosphere is? And the answer is it changes it dramatically. It even changes its electrical charge. So if we do that, it's bound to affect solar activity because we're interrelated with the sun. Our Earth is directly related to the sun. We wouldn't even be here without the sun. We wouldn't be alive without the sun. So to think that solar spots solely affect us in a one-way category, how do we know that the solar spots aren't affected by our magnetosphere and our changing magnetosphere? We don't. It's all interrelated. So the more they put crap in the air, the more they're going to see changes in the sunspot activity. Ironically, solar spots decline when heavy metals start popping up in our atmosphere. Over the past few years, we've had some of the lowest number of solar spot activities in the history of this planet. The more they spray, the less the solar spot occurs. But what happens is it changes the dynamic of the interior of the sun, creating proton bursts, protoplasmic bursts of protons that could actually affect our entire pole itself. And we do know now that the sun flips poles once every 11 years, positive to negative. The Earth has a cycle much longer than that, but we're already seeing magnetic changes in true north right now. And scientists cannot understand why there's such an alarming movement of the magnetic true north over the past few years. It's moving at an exponential rate, which is very disturbing. It could lead to a flipping of the polar situation, positive to negative, up to down. So that whatever happens could very likely lead to a massive climatic change. Ham radio operators have no knowledge of how the sun changes. They don't even have a clue. Yeah. It wasn't until about 10 or 15 years ago that the NASA started revealing that they believed the sun was switching poles. As you know, there is a lot of people out there pitching just weird stories about our show and fallacious stories that will never ever have any valid proof because all of them are designed to somehow make me appear something that I'm not. I can tell you that there are so many derisive videos out there about me that I can't even begin to enumerate them because there's a mad push at the top to try to pay people to denigrate this show and to slander me. And they know that they can get away with it because I'm not going to sue them. So many people who are out there slandering me right now are only help promote my name, actually. But anybody trying to do that is clearly trying to attack my credibility. And I can assure you, I have 100% credibility. And I am completely who I say I am. I am David Sponheim. Now, in lieu of the fact that I have been doing this for the past 11 years and started, 11 years ago, here's a picture of me starting right outside of my home.
Hi, good morning. As you can see, I'm still wearing the shirt I wore last night and yesterday at Blog TV.
And I was doing that entire show 11 years ago and have for the past 11 years been maintaining this constant continuity. We've never missed a show. We've done more broadcasting than any person on Earth. And there really is no way to describe the force of nature that this show has taken on. My whole effort has been charged by a belief that we have to build a third party to stop this corruption. I am driven by principles. And in lieu of that, I've aged well. I mean, obviously, I'm the same guy, but, it's just that it's difficult to live this youthful life and taking on the pressures of the world at the same time. I had to figure out a way to do that. And I found a lifestyle that is conducive to long life and healthy living. And it managed to help me feel better and continue on maintaining this show no matter what. Now, how many people try to stop me every night is a question mark I've never been able to answer. Definitely they're getting paid a lot of money. I do know that. We're definitely being censored on YouTube and on Twitter. You'll notice our subscriber numbers have not changed. Our follower numbers have not changed in the past 9 years. That's because the word is out to go to our site, but they don't in any way register as hits. They don't in any way register as subscribing. It's showing me that we have the same number of subscribers as we started with. And that doesn't in any way stop me or daunt my efforts. I'm still 100% going forward with the belief that I'm reaching many, many people, and the word is still spreading. So no matter what they do to try to limit my audience or limit the chat people in this room, I still go on full force. And that's what they're afraid of. They don't think for a second that I'm going to do this until I succeed. Not only am I going to do it until I succeed, I'm going to do it until I succeed, and then I'm going to kick their ass. All of them, every one of them that came at me with all this censorship and all this money, they're going to be looking over their shoulders because we're going after them when we get a better, more pure government installed in America. And the only way we're going to do that is with a third party. Because these people are so corrupt, they can get bought off in a second. You wouldn't believe how many people are being bought off right now as we speak. No, I don't ban people that do minor things. Not at all. I actually go out of my way to give you guys a second chance. I know a lot of you people who think it's funny to troll us, you get banned, but you come in with under a new name until you realize you can't say the N-word in our show. I have a zero tolerance for racism. And if you were banned because you said the N-word, you know enough not to say the N-word here. New York MD, I'm not going to show you where the disparaging videos out. They're all over, scattered over the internet. I'm not going to send you over there. Thanks, Porker. So what they're not sure of is how I've been able to maintain my youth over the years. And they're not sure of how I've been almost invincible as a media force. They can't understand that. And I think it's because they don't realize I'm powered by spiritual power bigger than them or anything they could even imagine. I actually stand for good versus evil. I stand for right versus wrong. I believe in justice and fairness. These people think they can buy everybody. You know, I was watching this movie today, The Hacker Wars, that was represented by Misanthropy. And I just think that's the biggest crock of crap I've ever seen. It's obviously the movie was made by the CIA. Hackers don't really exist in America anymore. They don't exist. They're bought off. They are owned. Hackers essentially get bought off very early at the hacker conventions by the NSA. The government has unlimited funds, and they created Anonymous. The government controls Anonymous. You can see that when you go to their production value on YouTube, and you see that it's got hundreds of thousands of dollars in every one of these videos. The production value of Anonymous is over the top. It's Hollywood produced. So the government bought off Anonymous a long time ago, and they bought off WikiLeaks and Julian Assange. They're using these venues as controlled opposition. They own them. But the government doesn't own me. And the government will never buy me. And the government will never be able to pay me off. And nobody's going to be able to pay me off because I represent the truth. I cannot be bought, unlike Anonymous and WikiLeaks. Underground Dome House, the family who led geese to fly home. Wow. Looks like a good video. Thanks, Misanthropy. So I don't believe the Hacker Wars is even a fact-based study of the hackers. Most of these people have been bought off. Yeah, you can't come in here and promote the other show because that person is actually receiving $2,000 an episode. So there is no other broadcast besides mine. Yeah, there's a guy who's been paid $2,000 an episode by Mark, and I have this from various sources, and he gets money from people that donate directly to him. I haven't had a penny in donations since Uncle Lester made a donation, 3 months ago. Not one penny's come in that I know of. But these people make tons of money trying to attack our show. If you want to go to America's Third Party, you can certainly donate if our PayPal button is working. And I've been told by some people it doesn't work sometimes. I can't get to the bottom of that. But because this entire show is dedicated to a third party, If you don't understand that, then you really don't belong in the show talking about a third party. Okay, we're going to take people out of the show that clearly are working for Mark, who are allowed in the show. Your IP is still allowed in, even though you've just been banned. Mark is only allowing the IPs of people that he accesses on 4chan or other channels. The people that are trying to get in here, honest, good people, can't get in here. Their IPs are banned. Mark claimed he was going to ban 350 million VPNs, and I think he does. There's a big thing going on with Antifa, and chaos is ensuing, but it's all completely pre-planned.
He's got a hammer! Hey, no hammer! Oh, chill! Motherfucker, sorry, my language. He threw a hammer. Bring your fucking knives outside. Fuck you! Pull your fucking knives out, coward! Oh, let's go, bitch!
Okay, clearly somebody built a truck to send Antifa in